welcome to Time with Terri, coming to you from the Space Coast of sunny Florida, where we have the beautiful Atlantic Ocean, lovely rivers, see rockets in the sky, and hear that tremendous sonic boom. I'm Terri, a retired medical professional who has worked with seniors my entire career. Now I'm at that stage in my life. In this outlet, Time with Terri, I would like to share your ideas and hear your concerns because to me, this is not just a podcast. It is my mission as a senior advocate to provide you with an amazing network of resources because in Brevard County, we care about our seniors. I would also like to promote small businesses and local charitable organizations. Now, some of you know that I love trivia. So today's trivia question is, how many hugs should you get in a day to keep yourself mentally and physically healthy? Well, today I am talking about a subject, hospice. It is a wonderful service, and I think there's some misconceptions about it. So we're here to straighten that out and let you know what a wonderful service that is. And today I'm proud to announce my guest, Angela Dunn, who is a community relations with St. Francis Reflection. And just a disclaimer, my mom is receiving care from your agency, and we are very happy with your agency. Your people are like top notch. We have a great communication. You know, not only do you treat my mother great, but my sister and I, who are here local, and we are the caregivers. You know, you keep in close communication with the status of my mother. So we appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
So,
that is the care that we always strive to make sure that we have for every one of our patients and families. And on behalf of our entire team, thank you. Thank you for trusting your mom with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for giving us such great care. So tell us a little bit about yourself. So you're a military brat. Your dad was in the Air Force?
Yes. My dad did 24 years in the United States Air Force. He retired right here at what is now called Patrick Space Force Base. As a military brat, I have lived in multiple places throughout the world, including Spain and Guam, and then various places here in the U.S. Dad retired here, and so I have been able to stay here since 1989. So Space Coast is my home. It's where I have raised my family, and it is where I have stayed. And now my son and my son-in-law are both currently active duty Army. So we definitely are a military family, proud to take care of our veterans and help our community however we can.
Right, and your brother's in the Navy.
My brother's retired Navy as well, yes.
So you have a nice representative of most of the branches of the military, which is great.
My brother-in-law was Marines, so we're covering.
My dad was a Marine. He was funny because he could do anything. You know, I would always say, you know, Dad, can you fix this or can you do that? He said, I can do anything because I was a Marine. My dad was like a big guy. He was a state policeman. But Marines, yes. Well, that's great. So let's tell people, like, what is hospice?
Hospice is a level of care. That's what it really is. It is a bear hug for a patient and family. So what happens is when someone receives a diagnosis that they are going to be no longer seeking curative treatment and their expected life expectancy is 6 months, then what our teams do is we come together and we are fingertip to fingertip. We have our social workers and our chaplains and nurses and home health aides and doctors, and we form like a circle around the family, and we're touching fingertips to fingertips. And as the patient and family need us, we come in closer until we're shoulder to shoulder and just hugging the family with love, making sure that we are there with them through the entire journey. We are there to help not just the patient. We want the patient to be comfortable. We want them to feel appreciated and well cared for. And we want the family to know you're not alone. We are here with you. We're holding your hands. We are going to probably cry with you. We have our bereavement coordinators standing by. They are here to help us. And we're all just hugging you and helping you on this journey so that it can be the best that it can be. You know, I've heard it explained that the two most beautiful times in life are birth, which we all think of as absolutely beautiful. It's so special. And death can be equally as special and equally as beautiful when you have those around you that matter the most to you, that are there with you, and things happen gently as they're intended to be. It can too be beautiful. So that's what we strive for.
Well, it's nice. And every time, too, that every time that a nurse sees my mom, I get a phone call, and they let me know what her status is. And if I have any questions at all, there's no dumb questions. You know,
Right.
people think, oh, I shouldn't ask that. But, you know, because you guys understand that we don't understand death. I mean, this person is dying, and there's just a lot of questions that we have that you guys very gently, just let us know what the questions that we have and the answers. So that's, it's just so wonderful. I think hospice people are just like a special breed, because to work with people at their end stage of life, you have to have such a heart and a compassion for the patient and their family members. So I did home care when I was in Virginia, and I worked with a lot of the hospice nurses and aides, and and it was a really good relationship. So they were, I think a lot of hospice, and
Thank you.
and some of the diagnosis, like a lot of people just think it's just cancer,
Right.
but it's not. My mother has dementia, so she's at her end stage of dementia.
So it can be pretty much any kind of illness like that. A very common one is COPD. You know, those that are dealing with it, just,
Yeah, with COPD, right?
any kind of lung or respiratory illnesses. It can be cancer. It can be heart conditions. There's so many, different things. But it's that end of life. When you know that it's that time.
Right.
We're there. It can be Lou Gehrig's disease. There's so many, that are life limiting, and we get to be there with them, no matter what it is,
Yeah.
and no matter how old they are.
Right.
Too. That is important. And one of the things with St. Francis, as a not-for-profit hospice, we take care of anyone, whether they have the ability to pay for it or not. And I think that that's really important. We make sure that anyone in our community who needs the compassionate, loving care that our care teams provide so well, that they get to have it.
Well, is it paid by? It's also paid by Medicare and Medicaid.
Yep, it is a benefit that the insurance will pay for, but we do have people in our community that don't have insurance at all, and that's when being a not-for-profit
Right.
steps in.
Great.
And thanks to donations, we're able to help do that.
Great. And you have volunteers also?
We do. We have a wonderful volunteer team. Volunteers can help in the office, whether it's administrative tasks. We have volunteers that can be 11th hour volunteers. And what those are very special people that when they know that the time is coming for someone to pass, they'll stay beside them so that they don't have to be alone.
Nice.
They're going to have somebody there with them. We have people that will provide respite care, which what that is come into the home and allow the caregiver to take a break. Allow the caregiver to have time to go to the grocery store, or maybe even just take a nap. Sometimes they just need to have a little bit of a break, and so we'll have a volunteer that comes in and sits with the patient and provides companionship with them so that the loved one can do what they need to do.
So if somebody would want to volunteer, they could just call St. Francis
Yes.
and just ask for the opportunities
Ask
that
for
are
the
there.
volunteers.
Okay. That would be-
And they will talk them through all of the different ones. We have opportunities for veterans as well. We have a special program, the We Honor Veterans program. And with that, each one of our veterans on our service that wants to have a recognition ceremony gets to have one. We make sure of it. And they receive a pin that's a veteran's pin. Their family will receive pins as well. They receive a flag that's been flown over the nation's capital. They also receive a beautiful quilt that has been donated by people in our community. We've got different crafting groups in our community that will make them for us, which are beautiful. And what happens is before the pinning ceremony, we have a veteran volunteer. We'll go to them and sit down and talk to the veteran and learn about their history, learn about their story. And veterans share a lot more when it's veteran to veteran because they understand each other. They understand each other's language.
Right.
And there's a special bond. And so they will come back and they will actually do an entire presentation about that veteran. And many times the families will learn stuff they didn't even know about their veteran and about the time that they served. So it's a very special time for not only the veteran, but all of their family.
Because I think a lot of people, like my dad was in the Korean War, and, men who were in World War I or World War II, they never talked about it, because I know my dad was in Korea, and I never heard any stories. He never talked about it, and that generation, they just really didn't talk about it because they were serving their country, and that was it. But all the stories, it's like, I just would love to hear the stories, because I know when I lived, was your dad ever stationed at Langley? Was yours in Hampton? Okay, because I lived in Hampton, Virginia, and the Air Force, Langley Air Force Base was there. But we had all branches of the military. That was great. The Navy was across the water. We had Marines, Coast Guard, everything. So I just absolutely love the military. My brother was in the Army. Dad was a Marine. But a lot of the younger guys who are in the military, they love to sit down with some of the older vets, and they love to hear the stories. Because they didn't tell the family, but it's cool that somebody would sit down and who's a veteran and say, hey, this is my experience, and that's kind of cool that they have somebody to share that with.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
I didn't know from my own grandfather, being in a military family, my grandfather on my dad's side and my grandmother and grandfather on my mom's side all served in World War II.
Your grandmother?
My grandmother served.
Really?
She was Royal Air Force.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and my grandfather was Royal Air Force. And then my dad's father was Army Airborne, which he just happened to be the same one that my son-in-law was in, 82nd
really?
Airborne.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know until my grandfather died that he had a Purple Heart.
Oh, my goodness.
Because it wasn't something that was talked about.
Yeah.
Even though we were a military family, he didn't really talk about his service. So I definitely understand that. And for those that are not at the point of hospice, one of the things that we do in the community as well, there's multiple of us on the teams, we do these things called Veteran to Veteran Cafe. And what happens is we just bring veterans together and we'll help them start a conversation, and they just get to share their stories and talk to people that are just like them. And it's just beautiful time of sharing and reminiscing and, watching them with the smiles. Of course, it's not always smiles, but just being able to share that time, we get to do that through the community, and multiple of those are open to the community, and of course at no charge.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Well, your care philosophy, like, how does your agency approach end of life care? And I think you have explained to circle around, encircle the people with love and make them comfortable and treat them with dignity.
Yes.
That's I know when my mom went into her last place, and they said, how do you want us to treat her? I said, I want you to make her comfortable and treat her with dignity, because she's a good woman. She did a lot. My mom worked with Alzheimer's. She worked with the Alzheimer's Association, and she actually got helped get Joe's Club started. Wow. And and she had support groups. So it's I always try to tell them, my mom is kind of dependent right now. So it's hey, this is a good woman. This is not somebody who's just an empty shell here. She's a human being, and treat her with dignity. So it's, it just, I don't know. Anyway, which you do, yes,
Yeah.
which you do, right. Your agency, yes.
Every person deserves that.
Right.
Every person deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, no matter what they're going through,
Right.
no matter what you think they understand and don't understand. it's never wrong to treat somebody with kindness
Right. That's
and
right.
to care.
Right. Because they're, they feel that. They, maybe they can't really express it, but there's a person inside
know.
there and they know. So, yeah. Some self-care tips for caregivers. I know one of the things that you had mentioned was you have like people who can come in sometimes because as a caregiver, I know it is hard sometimes. My mom lived with me for about a year and a half and I was working at the time too. So it was like, that would have been nice. But she didn't have hospice at the time. But,
Right.
just to give somebody a break sometime is great.
Yes, that's one of the important things that I think that we all need to share. We all know somebody who's in a caregiving role. We all do. If you just think for a minute, your friend down the road is caring for someone, just to stop and think about those caregivers for a minute and say, what can I do for you? And do it.
Yeah.
What I would say to the caregivers is have three things. Always have three things. If somebody cares about you enough to say, what can I do for you? Have three things lined up in your mind. You know what? I could really use somebody to weed my garden for me. I could use somebody to mow my yard. Maybe, you know what? If you could just come sit with my loved one while I could go to take a nice long shower. Whatever it is for you, have those three things. And when somebody says, please tell me what I can do for you, tell them.
Right.
Because
they don't know.
That's a blessing to them to say,
Right.
I want to help you. They're saying, I want to help you. Let them do it. You don't have to do this alone.
Right. And when you say, I know when somebody asks you and you're like, I don't know. I mean, they're asking you because they want to help.
Exactly.
And right. But they don't know how to help you because they don't know what help you need.
Right.
So, right. So if they're not asking you because, they're just for the heck of it. They just want, they know the struggles that people are going through. And, and it might seem like a small thing, but to that person, that's a major thing, to help them.
And it's very interesting. My dear friend put it this way: don't take away my blessing. Because that's a way that they can do something for you. And now, if somebody is saying it and they're just saying it to be nice, you'll know when they say, oh, sorry, I can't do any of those things. But most people aren't going to do that to you. Most people are going to say, okay, I'll take care of weeding your garden. How about this weekend?
That's nice.
And let them do that. Let them help you. Because in this life, we're in it together. Let's do it together.
Right. Because it's like, I was in my show was saying, like call somebody and be a blessing, but you're the one that's going to be blessed from it because you have that you help somebody like, like take a breath, to have a little bit of time for themselves. But yes, you always think that you're blessing the other person and it just turns back on you. So yes, that's great. And, the support, and you guys have support groups.
We do. We have a lot of grief. We have multiple grief support groups as well throughout the county, from MIMS to MICO, and different days of the week, different times of the day. And we have some for different age groups too. So we have many for adults, but we also have them for children. So it's important to understand children grieve differently than adults. And one of the interesting things that I learned about that I just love to share is when we're adults and we're grieving and we're going through things, we're probably going to sit there and there may be tears. And then afterwards, we're just going to exhale. And then we're going to get up and go, right? Keep going. Children, when they have expressed that deep grief, they need to get physical. Afterwards.
Really?
They have to be physical. They've got to release it. And that's very interesting to know that. So through donations, we were able to get these special wobble chairs for the North Star group. And the children are able to sit on them and they can rock back and forth. And it makes it so they can stay with the rest of the group, but still be able to get rid of some of that energy. And it's a very interesting thing to see. It just helps them be able to get recentered. And when anyone goes through something real traumatic, a lot of times you'll see them do that rocking motion.
Right.
And we don't usually think about that, but you've probably seen it at some point in your life. And that is that natural need for the movement. And that's kind of where it comes from.
It's
And
like,
so being able to have somebody with you to help you get through that.
it's a release, like an energy release, right? Because it's kind of pent up, and they need to like get rid of that. And that's interesting. Yeah, I know. I guess people don't understand, right? The different process that adults and children go through. Yeah, I didn't know that. That is,
So after a good cry, it is good for every one of us to have a little dance party.
yeah.
Just get up and dance it out.
Like nobody's watching, right?
That's
Like
right.
this
Nobody
song,
else will be watching.
like
You're in your room alone. You can get up and dance.
That's good. Yeah, it doesn't matter what you look like. I always say I look like a wounded animal when I'm dancing, so it doesn't matter. Right, right. The medical services, the treatments, and the medications, like you provide or help provide medicines for the patients.
Yes.
Do they? Okay.
Well, it depends on what they need, right? What happens is when they first come on service, our medical team, so everything that we do, it's a team. We call it IDT, interdisciplinary team. The team comes together around a big table, and it's the doctor, the nurses, the home health aide. It's all of them that come together, and they'll talk about what does this patient need. And they will look at what are the medicines that they're taking, what are the treatments that they're undergoing that are not curative treatments, potentially breathing treatments, potentially, like their oxygen levels. And is there a way that we can improve this for them? They will look at their medicines, make sure that they are on the ones that are going to keep them the most comfortable, make sure that they have what they need. Sometimes it can be changing them. Sometimes it can be letting some go, not taking them. It all depends on the individual. But
And what
yes,
stage?
they're medicines that are required through the hospice care are covered as part of the insurance.
And it depends to what stage,
Right.
What stage that they're at as well. Yes,
It's what do they need?
right. Now, are they able to keep their primary doctor or? Okay.
They can.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Good. And okay, constant coverage. We already said constant coverage. Whether they're at home or in a facility, it's still
Right.
covered. Okay.
So many times we're asked, where is hospice? We have 2 care facilities to serve Brevard. We have one in Titusville, and that's the Edward M. Poe Care Center, and that is off Grumman. And we have a limited number of beds there. The care centers are for a very limited amount of time. These are not the same as assisted living facilities or skilled nursing facilities. They're only to be there for a short time until they're managed, until their care is under control, their symptoms, are under control. And then they'll go back to wherever they call home. Our other facility is at Orlando Hospital, Melbourne. We have on the 2nd floor, we have a wing there that is also our facility for us that does the same thing. So we can come to assisted living facilities, skilled nursing facilities, apartments, houses, wherever it is that the patient is, we come to you.
That's great. And some of the comfort measures. I know that you have like music, special pillows. I have like fans. I had a friend of mine. I remember a friend of mine like when we were in our 20s, and she always had to sleep with a fan. So it was like I was like, you're crazy, and I was just like, no. The sound of the fan gave her comfort. So I mean, who knows? And we were talking with someone before about like their pets too, about how important the pet
Right.
is to them.
Right.
So
Staying at home where you're comfortable is going to help your quality of life, right? We all want to be there in our comfy chair at home, and we want to have our sweet little fur baby with us, right? No matter what. Well, one of the things that we are able to offer is if someone goes into our care facilities, they're able to have their little fur baby come and see them there. At our care center in Titusville, we actually have a dog park out back. So the dogs can be let run in there, and they can, all of the beds face the dog park. All of the rooms do, so the beds can be wheeled out by the door so they can watch their fur baby out there running around, maybe playing fetch.
Yeah.
They get to do that because that's part of who we are. That is our child. For many of us, if we have an animal, that's one of our children, and we want to have them around, and we want to be able to love on them. And so we make sure that can happen.
That's
We
great.
also have a very special program. It's our Pet Pledge program. Because we know how important our fur babies are, if we have someone on service and they know that they don't have anybody that's going to be able to take care of their fur baby when the time comes, we promise that we will make sure they're taken care of. They will not go to a shelter. What happens is we take them to the veterinarian. We have a veterinarian that we partner with. They get a full workup, head to toe, and they get to get all the medical stuff that they need for a month if they need to be on medicines, make sure all their shots are up to date. They get a month's worth of food, a bed, and some toys so that they have a welcome home pack that's going to go with them to their new family. And we make sure that they go to a nice family.
Oh, that's
because
good.
that's important.
Right.
You know, sometimes people, they don't want to let go. If their fur baby's the last of their family, they don't want to let go. They want to make sure that little baby is taken care of.
Right. That
So-
it goes to a good home because
Exactly.
right. That's like your child. You know that because that would be weighing on their mind, but they have
Right.
peace of mind to know that right that their pet is going to be loved and be in a family that they're loved and and taken care of. Great, and be a blessing. Be a blessing to another family.
Absolutely.
So that's great. We talked about like the pain meds too. It's like some of the pain meds. It just depends on, like we said, what stage and what they need. Right. And I have to like sometimes too. They'll stop eating.
Yes. It comes to be a point that as people are getting closer to the end, their body starts slowing down. All of the aspects do. And so they do. As much as they eat, they want to eat, it decreases a lot. And that's okay. That's okay. They're not expending the calories. They don't need to intake it. And so that is one of the things that, sometimes we see and we have to talk to families. Don't force them.
Right.
Never force them.
Right.
They'll do what they need to do.
Right.
Remember that the most important thing about hospice care is love and compassion and helping them be comfortable, whatever that means to them.
Right. And then some people can they hear me? And it's like,
Yes.
yeah.
That is the last thing that goes.
Okay.
We have heard numerous times, and I've actually seen this firsthand, where a veteran is being pinned in a ceremony and they seem non-responsive. And there's one time in the ceremony that the veteran volunteer, if they seem to be non-responsive, the veteran volunteer will say, "I'm saluting you," and they will raise their hand. And then the
Makes me wanna cry.
patient will lift their hand.
Oh,
And they hear you.
wow.
Never stop talking to them. They hear you.
Yeah.
They may not be able to respond, but they know when you say, "I love you," they know it
Yeah.
and trust that they hear it.
My mom is sort of like kind of in and out. Like sometimes she'll say sentences, and like it was funny. The other day I was with her and she was laying on her side, and all of a sudden she said, "I was thinking about," and I said, "What were you thinking about, Mom?" And that was that. And I always tell her I love her, and I don't expect her to say it back to me. I just tell her that I love her, and I kiss her on her forehead, and she'll kiss me on the cheek, and I'll reach down, and this is going to make me cry. But she hasn't said I love you in a long time. And on Mother's Day, when I was getting ready to leave, she said, "I love you, babe." She used to call me babe. And I was like, if you'd have given me $1 million, I couldn't have been happier. So, and she'll say that once in a great while since then, but that just,
But you got that.
I just, and on Mother's Day. So,
And
yeah.
you get to hold that forever.
Yeah. So I know she's so funny. Yeah, she's been talking a little bit more lately. So, well, that's good to know that that's the last sense is hearing. I mean, I know because sometimes it's like, because I'll tell her, like, I'll go in and I'll tell her, like, hey, Mom, I had a podcast today, and, I'm gonna interview Angie Dunn from St. Francis, who's, the services, and, she doesn't say anything, but I have to tell her. I have to just tell her. And you don't know, because I know you don't know what they absorb. So it's just, because I just want to let her know everything that's going on. So, and then let's see, being with the loved one, like when you never. I mean, there are times, I guess, when the end, the end of life, like the very end. I mean, I guess you don't always know, but sometimes you do. I mean,
There's
and
signs.
yeah,
There's signs.
yeah.
One of the things that we do is we give all of our families, we call it the Blue Book, and it's gone from my site. And I remember this from being in as a family instead of being a staff member. My mother-in-law was on our service, and that was the first time I had seen that book. I had already been working for the organization for 5 years, and I hadn't seen the book, but she came on service, and they gave me the book. And in it, it lets you know what to expect, and it gives you time frames. At 3 to 6 months, you might see this, and it just kind of helps you know this is the way things are. This is going to happen. Okay, this is normal. I don't need to panic, which is always good. That's so much of what hospice is I'm here with you. You're not alone. You don't have to do this on your own, and this is okay. It's normal. This is okay. It hurts. It hurts like I'll get out as a family member, but it's okay. You're going to be okay. We're going to help you get through this.
Right. And sometimes too, it's sometimes like you're present. I mean that you let us know, and we can be there, and the hospice personnel is with the family as well.
Right.
So, which is a comfort.
And they have experienced it so much, the clinical teams have, and they will let the family know we're getting closer here. This is a good time to call the family in. They will let them know that. But people, even our most seasoned professional can't tell you,
Right.
Okay, today it's not like that. It's based on experience that it's coming close. That's what they can tell you. That the time is very limited. That's the but they are really good about telling you that, so that you may not be caught off guard. It's never going to be easy, but we don't want to be caught off guard, right?
Right. Well, what do you think are some misconceptions about hospice?
That hospice is a place to go to die.
Yeah.
That, I think, is the biggest one.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a level of care. And it's a care that I think we would all want. Imagine having all those that are providing your care. Let's say your primary care doctor, your dermatologist, your cardiologist. Let's just say that for the majority of people. Imagine if they sat at one table and talked about you and the care that you needed. Right? It'd be easier instead of, did this person give me a blood pressure medicine or was it this one? But so that's what happens with hospice. They come together and say, you know what? I think that this person would really benefit from. That's what it is. It's a level of care, making sure they get everything that they need. One of the misconceptions that I had heard recently is about that hospice is a place to go to die and that they can set the time. So this one...
really?
Yes.
Wow.
But it's, and then it's not a suicide. It's not assisted suicide. That's not what we do. Not here in the state of Florida. I know some other states, there is legal stuff with that. Not in the state of Florida. We don't... we just are here to keep people comfortable.
Right.
For them. And what's real important is we ask we ask our patients when they come on service, one of the first questions we ask them is, what matters most to you?
Mm-hmm.
And we want to make sure they get it.
Mm-hmm.
To some, it is just make sure I don't have pain.
Mm-hmm.
To some, it can be, I would like one more time to have dinner at Cracker Barrel. We've had a couple patients that say that.
Yeah.
And that just a special meal, this special anniversary with their loved one,
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of things. But we ask them what matters because we want our care to be personal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what hospice is. It is personal care for the patient and the family, since it's family inclusive.
Right. And one of the things, too, is that the family has no control. I'm like, that cannot be any further from the truth. I'm like, that, as we discussed, the family is very involved. You guys make sure that we are involved with it. And, and sometimes, they were asking, it's like, whatever you want to do. And, and we would discuss it and come up. But no, that is not true at all.
Right.
So we can dismiss that myth very easily, fast and easy. Yeah. Now, I know something that's special to you are the 5 wishes.
The 5 wishes. Yes, I love the 5 wishes. So the 5 wishes is advanced directives with a heart. This is something for me that I feel so passionate about. One of the great things I get to do in the community is go around and speak to groups. Mm-hmm. And so if anybody wants to call me for me to come do a presentation about the 5 wishes, call me. I'm happy to do it. What it is it's advanced directives with a heart. So we think about the one and only thing that we really have in this world is us. We've got me, right? I've got me. Clothes can go away. Everything else can go away. It's stuff, but me. There's me. And the 5 wishes, the first wish is, who's the person that you want to make care decisions when you can't? Mm-hmm. Whether that is because you've been in an accident, because you are at end of life, or anything. Who do you want to be that backup person? That's also the person that gets to know what's going on with you. Mm-hmm. We had a loved one recently in my family that got hit by a car. She was 20 years old.
Wow.
But she needed to have her mom's name on hers so that the hospital could talk to mom. Mm-hmm. You need to make sure that there's somebody there. The second question is, what kind of treatment do you want or not want? So many times people will say, oh, I don't want to be kept on life support. Is that true? Well, what does life support look like to you? Mm-hmm. I share, too, with people personally, for me, as with my kids being military, God forbid if something happened to me, it's okay to keep me on life support till my kids get home. Mm-hmm. After that, let's be done, right? But that's a personal decision. And when it goes into question number 3, it's how comfortable do I want to be? What does that look like to you? Mm-hmm. Do you want to have no pain? Do you want to just go through whatever you're going to go through? Mm-hmm. How is that going to be? Number 4 is, how do I want people to treat me? If you're in a room, do you want people to be sad, and do you want it to be real quiet? Do you want to be left alone? Or do you want to have people around you? Do you want to have your loved ones there holding your hand with you? Mm-hmm. What does it look like for you? And then the 5th question is, this is a tough one. What do I want my loved ones to know? And that is, one of the questions, one of that part is, how do I want to be remembered? When you really stop and think about that, that's a deep question. What do I want people to say about me when I'm gone? Mm-hmm. But it's also gets to talk about, you get to share in there. It kind of helps you with some wording, Right. It gives you some ideas to things to put. And what's really special about this document is valid across the country, across the U.S., and you don't have to pay for it. You sign it, and you have witnesses. It depends. There's a couple states that require notaries, but here in Florida, we don't. We just require to have 2 people sign that they witnessed it, your signature. But this makes the decision so you don't have so your loved ones don't have to.
Yeah.
You know, if,
Right.
God forbid, you know, you have a funeral. In here, you write down what songs you want them to play. That's a hard question to answer when you're grieving. What song was it that they liked the most?
Right.
That's a tough question. You know, and things like that. So that's what the 5 Wishes does.
So that's a pamphlet. Okay.
It
So you
is a
have like
pamphlet.
there's several pages to fill out.
Right.
Okay. That's
And
good.
one of the special things, this actually comes from Aging with Dignity. And the gentleman who wrote this traveled with Mother Teresa.
Oh.
And this was what he came up with because he said, this is what everybody should have before it comes to the end. They should give this to their family. This is a gift. It's a gift to your family to say, I've thought of it. You don't have to.
Right.
All you have to do is follow what I ask of you.
Right.
You don't have to make the decisions. I did it.
Right. Which is great for the family because that takes the burden off them because it's
Absolutely.
like this is what mom wanted and this is everything is there in writing. So and I mean that's why it's also good to have your will state no matter how old you are. You
Absolutely.
think that you don't need that. I know about a year ago because I'm single, never married, no kids, and I'm like if I were to die, that would be a nightmare in probate. So I made sure that I got all that done and. My sister's my POA, and so it's just nice if anything happens. And I told my nephews, I needed their social security number to put them in the will, and I said, so you're in the will, but I said it's not that much, so don't get any ideas. Not to tell you what, I was just kidding with them. I just love them. I have 4 nephews, and they have kids, and my sister. So, but anyway, but it's just I think that's important. Because people, I was saying one time I was saying like if I die, and the lawyer's like, and I wasn't thinking, and he goes, what do you mean if you die? You mean when you die? So we never know, but anyway, but the 5 wishes that is a great thing for and for the person too who is dying. I mean, people hate to say that word, but it's part of life. So, and it, just to let people know because, for yourself, the person who is dying, this is what I want, that they have the peace of mind to know that this is what they want and that the family will, will take care of that and implement that the program. So it makes them feel good. It makes the person feel good that that's taken care of. So that's a big load off of them as well.
You don't have to say, did I do the right thing?
Yeah.
You're taking away that burden of, did I do the right thing?
Right. Because this is what mom or dad or whoever, this is what they wanted, and I'm going to honor that. So,
yep.
That's
And this is for everybody over the age of 18. Everybody should have this over the age of 18. Even if you have no other belongings, because, in a will, that's to that's to deal with your belongings. You still have you. So that's why I say this is for everybody.
So is that for somebody who isn't in hospice as well?
Everybody.
That's just everybody can just have that and sign that and have that already just in case?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. I mean, they still should have their will and
Right.
estate and all that done too.
Yes.
But that's always an added bonus.
So people can go to our website. It's reflectionslsc.org. And then at the top, there's resources. And you can click on advanced directives. And you can actually fill it out online and print it.
Okay.
And sign it yourself and have 2 people sign it with you.
Okay. So if people were interested in having St. Francis Reflection for hospice, what would be their first step?
If they were hospice eligible or they wanted to see that they would call our office, which is 321-269-4240, and then say that you would like to speak with someone in admissions. Whomever answers the phone will help guide them through it, and they will answer. They'll have questions. We'll have somebody come out and talk to them.
Okay.
And see, is this right for them or not? Because we also have palliative care service,
Okay, good.
which is not hospice. That is for those that are still seeking curative treatment, which means they're still trying to be cured, but they need some more help. They have a life-limiting illness, and they need that help of a team that's going to say, you know what, let's look at everything. Let's make sure you're doing the best that you can. You still have a team providing care. They're not in as frequently as hospice would be, but it's still going to be specialized care to make sure that they have what they need.
Good, yeah. That's right. I was going to ask about that, which I'm glad you brought up about the difference between hospice and palliative care. Right. Palliative care is when you're newly diagnosed, or and hospice is
the last 6 months, and not seeking curative treatment. That's that's the big thing, because maybe you don't know it's 6 months, maybe it can be longer. And I think one of the things that it's very important for our listeners to hear is 6 months is not an exact time. Right. Doctors are good, and they do based on what they've seen, but they can't tell you exactly. Right. But they can say that it's limited. And people graduate from hospice.
That's
which
right.
is a wonderful thing,
right,
where they start doing so good because all their symptoms are managed that they're no longer hospice eligible. So we call it graduating. They get to come off of hospice.
Right.
They may go back on in the future, but right now they're doing so good they don't need us.
I know,
that's okay.
I've had patients when that they had therapy and they got better, and it was like, wow, this is great for now. For now, you're doing wonder. They will be able to be more independent, and that's good. That sometimes they do graduate temporarily from that. So,
and
good.
Sometimes they're supposed to. There's a time limit usually, but it just depends on the patient. Sometimes patients can be on hospice for over a year because how their symptoms and how their disease progression is, where they're not doing good, all of a sudden they start doing better, and then it kind of comes as a roller coaster. There is it's strict what the criteria is, and of course that's why we have the interdisciplinary team to make sure they're following all of the rules, making sure that people that are on hospice are truly eligible for it. And if they're not, they get to graduate them, and making sure they get the best of care for what they need, no matter what it is.
Great. And then you were talking about that you guys you have support groups for adults and children.
Right.
And like you said, it's a different, it's kind of a different mentality between the ages. And so they can contact
our number, the 321-269-4240. We also have, we do have a grief support group for those who lost their children. Because there's a difference. It's the pain that no parent should have to go through, but unfortunately some do. And I can only imagine what that will be like. I'm thankful that we have resources for individuals that have to go through that. But their pain, I could imagine, is different than losing a parent.
Right.
Because we feel nobody should bury their child, right?
Right.
And so there's a special group for them as well. Good. And I think that's important too.
Good. Is there anything that I haven't covered that you'd like to mention? We're going to talk about the hugs in a few minutes, in a minute. But is there anything that you can think of that?
I think I would just love to share how important donations are too.
Okay.
Because as a not-for-profit, part of what we do is a lot of it's not covered under insurance. So some of the stuff that we've talked about, the grief support, all of those programs, they're not covered under insurance. There's no funding for that. It's paid for through donations. And programs like our Pet Pledge program, our Veterans program, all of those are paid for through donations. We have extra ones we have a program called Takesha's Legacy Fund. So if we have a patient on our service who has a need, we're hit summer. This is Florida, all right? When your air conditioning goes out in the state of Florida, that's a need.
Yes, most definitely.
And when you have a patient and their family that cannot afford to get that AC fixed, and they have a condition maybe like COPD, where they have a hard time breathing already. That is a need to have that AC. Well, thanks to donations, we can provide them like a window unit, a little small portable AC unit, or other things that they need to help make their life a little bit better. You know, whatever we can do, we have that available from donations. And, you know, to try to make those last, we'll call it Make-A-Wish for adults.
Right.
You know, things that, like having that special anniversary dinner with your special someone from Cracker Barrel, or from another restaurant that is your favorite place that you used to go to for your anniversaries. You know, those type of things. We want to help make that happen. And it's donations that do that. And I think that that is so important. And we just really appreciate that our community helps support us. We are a community organization that was founded by volunteers. We were founded by Emily Sasko in 1977. We are the very first hospice in Brevard County. And she was a nurse at Parish Medical Center. And she knew that people were dying alone and in pain. And she said, there's got to be a way. And she learned about hospice. And so she got a team of her nurse friends together and said, help me do this. We're going to help people. And now we serve over 1,900 people a year.
Wow. That's
you know?
great.
And that's pretty special.
Yeah.
You know, but it's still, we've got that volunteer heart where our teams, it is a special someone. Our clinical teams, they are so special that they can do what they do, providing this care that they provide. And it's the community. We are Brevard County. We were started here. We are here. We are going to continue here, and we continue taking care of our neighbors from Mims to Miko.
Nice. Very nice. It would be interesting to have like somebody who does want to like have a meal, like if you had like almost like a Make-A-Wish that, you know, that people knew about, like, you know, they would like to have a meal at Cracker Barrel and that you could buy them a gift card or something for that. That would be, you know, that would be interesting to like coordinate something like that. I don't know how. If I can be of any help, I would love to use the podcast to, you know, to encourage that as well. To coordinate that would be interesting. So, yeah. So
yes, we'll
have to
that
see.
before.
Yeah, we'll have to see about that. Yeah. I mean, because this podcast is to help the community. I just like local charitable organizations. I want to reach out to the community and people from the community. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know all these different, you know, organizations or things that they can do to help. And there's so many people I think that would love to, you know, help out and maybe something like this. So we'll have to see. See about that.
We have a great community helping our seniors, and thank you so much for what you're doing.
Because
it takes all of us.
Right.
We have so many different organizations that, you know, while we provide hospice and palliative care, we have so many other organizations that provide in-home care that is a different level than what we provide. And those that just come along with the seniors and bring them meals and, you know, provide extra companionship. We're in this together.
Right.
This is life. We get to do it together, and we should do it together as a community.
Right, because we do have an amazing network of resources. I mean, these people, the people that I love doing the networking because I've just met so many wonderful people that have a heart for seniors, and you know, it's just I want people to know who these people are and the resources that are out there for them because they don't have to do it alone. Right. There's just so many people who care and want to help. So that's great. Okay, so speaking of helping, hugs help. So
yes.
Let's talk about hugs.
Hugs are so important. You know, hugs have all kinds of effects for us, right? When you're having a bad day, a hug can lift your mood. When you need a really good cry, a hug can help you cry. It can have all kinds of positive effects mentally and physically. So here's the numbers. There's special numbers about this. And this is from research, okay?
Okay.
You need 4 hugs a day for survival, 8 hugs a day for maintenance, and 12 hugs a day for growth.
Wow. That's a lot of hugs.
That's a lot of hugs. That's a lot of hugs.
A lot of hugs.
But you know what? The other thing to think about it is not all hugs are created the same, right? They're not
That is
all
true.
equal.
Very
That
true.
5-minute side hug,
Yeah. That's a half
You
a,
know,
that's a half a hug.
the absolute 10 seconds is normal, is the good, a heart-to-heart hug. If you're really trying to tell somebody I care about you, that bond, that heart-to-heart 10-second hug. If you really want them to feel loved, get ready. It's 20 seconds.
20 seconds. Yeah.
It's 20 seconds. But, and it's proven that 20 seconds, which sometimes, especially if you're mad or you're not feeling good, 20 seconds is a really long time. But if you, the 20 seconds is when you start to release.
Yeah.
And you start to release your stress. And when you get to release that stress, that's what a hug's about.
Yeah.
I care about you. We got this together.
Right.
That's what it's saying. So,
My
hug your
dad,
buddy.
my dad used to give. My dad he was like a big strapping guy, and when he would give a hug, he would like hug, and then he would go. He would like, it was almost like a chiropractic move when he would do it. But when my dad hugged you, you knew you were hugged.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was that release.
Yeah.
You got that stress release from it.
I know. My dad was funny. Unfortunately, he had Alzheimer's when he was 50. He died when he was 63. So yeah, he died young. It's a shame, but that's life. So that's just the way it is. But I have very fond memories of my dad. So he was a character.
The memories live on.
They do.
And that's what we all get to do in life. We get to create memories. We all
Yeah.
have right now. That's the only time we have is right now. So
Right.
what are you going to do with it? Who are
Right.
you going to hug? Who are you going to uplift? And who are you going to help make better?
Right. That is right. Well, I have a quote. This is a quote from Saint Francis. All the darkness in the world cannot extinguish the light of a single candle. So that one person that you can make a difference. It doesn't matter where it is, but you can make a difference. And, people just need to know that one simple act of weeding the garden or just sitting with them while they take their shower, whatever, can be, can just be something that person really needed. And there's a poem, hopefully I can get through this because I cried every time I read it, but it's Celebrate My Life. Remember me with love and joy. Let gratitude fill your heart. Thankful for the time we had, gone yet not apart. If we measured life in moments, not in months or years, I lived 100 lifetimes, loved by all who hold me dear. I thought I could throw it, but I couldn't. But anyway, it's beautiful. Beautiful poem. So, thank you. I have enjoyed our time together. And thank you, audience, for sharing this time with me, with Angie Dunn from St. Francis Reflection. And I look forward to our next time with Terri. Just a reminder to reach out to someone and be a blessing today, and you'll be blessed too. Bye.